I had tried to decide whether or not I was going to make this video because I'm it's a very, very touchy subject, and I'm going to get very angry while I'm doing it, and I'm going to rant a little bit, and I'm going to say some things that I probably shouldn't say, but this is how I feel deep down. And I may have been raised a certain way when I was growing up, but after I turned 18, how I turned out was on me. The choices I made and the things that I now, if a person is raised around racist people, they can't help how they are before they turn 18. Once they turn 18, if they choose to stay racist, that's on them. And whatever happens to them, happens to them. If they get their head blown off, oh well. I'm just saying, after we turn 18, it's our responsibility to dictate how we live our life. We can't say, oh, I was raised by parents that were racist and it was a racist time period and everybody was like that and that's just how it was. And no, that's wrong. Thinking like that is very wrong. And I'm going to tell you this. For those people out there, like the Aryan Brotherhood and the white right people and all that, if whites are so perfect in God's eyes, then why did God create Adam out of mud? Why did God create Adam out of dark earth? If whites are so special, how come God turned Cain into a white man as a mark to show people that he had sinned against God? He killed his brother. So God took him and changed him into an albino. That's where white folks come from. Y'all need to check up on your history. Now, back to what I was going to say. I came across an article today. It says New Orleans to apologize for lynching of its 11 New Orleans to apologize for lynching 11 Italians in 1891, among worst in American history. Yes, that's bad. That is really bad. But that kind of shit happened all the time down there to black folks. Uppity white folks who thought they were much better than everybody else decided that they were going to keep black folks down because they didn't want them to be equal and they didn't consider them to be human. So they'd lynch them, they'd kill them, they'd rape them. Yeah, white folks did this. Now, I'm saying this because sometimes white America makes me embarrassed when people ask me, oh, what are you? And I say, oh, I'm an American. I'm sometimes embarrassed to say that because our history is so screwed up that it's tarnishing our present and going into our future. There's still a lot of people that believe that no matter what is on top of the soil, underneath is always going to be white dirt. Well, I've never seen white dirt. Not really. I've seen light earth that was extremely dehydrated. But if you get earth that's really, really good and hydrated with plenty of minerals in it, that is very dark soil. Very, very dark soil. Things grow really good. Things don't grow in dusty white soil or dusty light soil. It only grows in the dark, dark, dark soil. Now, it says here that in 1891, 11 Italians were lynched. There was a mob that assembled about 10 a.m., crammed so tightly on the pavement that the streetcars couldn't run. Thousands of people, among them the most prominent businessmen, lawyers, merchants, and politicians in New Orleans, marched in circles around the statue of Henry Clay. The crowd was yelling itself hoarse, bent on a kind of justice that would be called murder by today's standards, but that the Washington Post and numerous other newspapers called vengeance in 1981. I mean, 1891. Forgive me, 1891. The mob's victims awaited in New Orleans Parish Jail, all of them Italian immigrants or children of immigrants who had just been acquitted in the shooting deaths of the New Orleans police chief. There was no proof that these 11 Italians did anything to the police chief. The police chief was killed. These guys just happened to be there. So white America took it upon themselves to dole out justice. There were others still awaiting trial. To this day, the chief's killer or killers have never been identified. Nobody cared. They got who they thought was the ones that did it, and that's all that mattered to them. It didn't matter if the killers were going away free. To this day, the chief's killers or killer have not been identified, but on the morning of March 14th, 1891, despite the not guilty verdicts, the mob seemed certain that they had done the deeds. When the law is powerless, William Parkinson, the mob's leader and mayor's former campaign manager, yelled to the crowd, according to a 1991 New Orleans Times article, writes, delegated by the people are relegated back to the people, and they are justified in doing that which the courts have failed to do. This guy seemed like, although the courts did not find any evidence to convict these people of any crime, they were innocent of the crime. The mob standing outside did not give a shit. They were going to go in there and they were going to dole out justice, which is what a lot of people do. They act first and think last. Okay, once the speech is finished, the Post reported then, everyone stood still for a moment. Everybody in the crowd stood still. Just quiet long enough for one man's voice to catch the agitated crowd's attention. Shall we get our guns? The verdict was decisive. That morning, anywhere from 8,000 to 20,000 vigilantes, armed with Winchester rifles, axes, and shotguns, broke down the door of the parish jail and trampled past the passive sheriffs. Sheriffs didn't even try to stop them. I bet you the sheriffs were scared shitless. They went past sheriff's deputies until they captured 11 defenseless Italians and riddled their body with bullets. 2 were dragged outside and hanged, one by a tree limb and the other by a lamp post. The ones that were gunned down and murdered, they were riddled with so many bullets that they could not be identified. And that is American white justice. I'm not talking about people in America that care about America. They care about other Americans. I'm talking about white folks that think they have got privilege in America. White folks that think this is their country and everybody else can get the fuck out. I ain't talking about people that actually do care about the people around them. No, I'm talking about people that think that their shit don't stink. That's who I'm talking about. Yeah, so they did this. They went in and they murdered a bunch of people. It says, but now, 120 years later, the city is changing its tune. Oh, let me back up a minute. Historians have called the massacre the largest mass lynching in American history. The vigilante mob escaped any consequences, and the city of New Orleans refused to take responsibility for it. That's the way it goes. When people do something bad, especially in the past. Now, for me, I'm a firm believer that although I did not do anything to harm somebody in the past, but I've got maybe family that did, I'll say this. I am sincerely sorry and very apologetic for the things that have happened in our past. I am. I'm Native American. My dad's Navajo. My mother is Israeli. I was adopted when I was 6, along with my sister, to an American family here who raised us and loved us very much. But my birth family, my birth father is Navajo Indian. Okay? There's been a crapload of stuff that have happened to my dad's family and various other tribes that are connected to my dad's family way back in the back. And I'm sure we have done some things that were not right either in the defense of our land. Now, since I am an American, and I do claim that I am an American, and I try to live as an American, I take full responsibility for some of the things that happened in the past. Although those things in the past are nothing I can do, I can't change it. I didn't cause it to happen, but I am American, so therefore I am partly responsible as an American for the crap that happened, the slavery, the crap that happened to the Native Americans, the crap that happened to the Italians, the Chinese. Any bad things that America has done to any individual in our past, I apologize for that. Sincerely, I apologize for it. And everybody else should apologize for it too. But what do? They decide that they want to sweep it under the rug and no longer talk about it because it just isn't done. They don't want to be responsible. Just as we are responsible for the sins that Adam did in the garden, I too am responsible for the sins that America has done toward other individuals and Americans. Anyway, that's just my rant. Have a good night. Thank you for your time. And if you liked my video, let me know in the comments. If you didn't like my video, let me know in the comments. Tell me what you think. I would love to converse with you. I'm not going to argue, but I'll converse with you. If you think I'm wrong, let me know why. If you think I'm right, let me know why. Every little bit helps, and we're all in this together. Have a good night. All things considered, because I consider all things.